time that I talked about design, it was to about design at Booking.com. It was to a small group of teenagers, and no, I'm not referring to these guys. It was at a hackathon where Booking.com was a sponsor, and I was there as a coach, and I was supposed to come in and help the teams make sure that they have a good plan from both the technical side, but also from a commercial side. So I think I arrived there at around 5, and I was supposed to spend 2 hours there with the teams. But then when the midnight pizza came, I was still there and engaged in a really passionate conversation about consistent design with this group of teenagers. I just showed them a page from Booking.com, and I stated that every single pixel that you see here is intentional and the result of an A/B test. Now they stared at me for a second. I don't know, maybe they thought I was joking or something, but then they came straight at me. It was like, with things like, but look at this white space, it's a mess. The font sizes, some boxes have round corners, some have straight corners. And how many types of padding can you have on a page? Like, okay, what I meant was that we didn't really set out to have 20 types of padding on a page, but everything here is by design. Now let me explain. At my first job, I spent the first 2 or 3 days just by watching a guy write CSS. It was the first time I saw another human being write CSS, and I thought it was the best cool thing ever, right? Best cool thing. Now, I had the luxury to do that, but when I joined Booking 3 years ago, I was encouraged to dive straight into the code. So in my second day, I was already helping someone set up an experiment, and by the end of the week, I was rolling out all the code of the front end of the website. And this was an average onboarding process. Speed of development is very important to us because it's what allows us to grow faster than any other company out there. Faster than Google, faster than Netflix, faster than Amazon. Now, to be able to achieve such short onboarding periods, it all starts with our style guide. This is everything. It's pretty simple. Couple of things about colors, avatars, non-Latin languages, 2 modules, that's it. And actually, when I started 3 years ago, it was just 5 colors. 5 hex values, everyone had them memorized. Now, the fact that we have such a simple style guide is not the only reason why we have 20 types of padding on a page. It actually all boils down to one simple question. What is the value of consistent design? And this is the way we approach every single thing that we do at Booking. What is the value of this to both our company, but also for our customers? Now, there are so many distractions out here, and people always come up with ideas and add them to their backlogs, and there's all these things that are fighting for our attention. So we have to ask ourselves this thing, just to make sure that we're always focusing on the right stuff where it's needed the most. Now, obviously, to say this to a teenager is not really cool because they're more about like excited and what they want to save the world and stuff like that. So they start telling me that, but not everything is about money. Like you should try to give your users an awesome user experience, and that will make them loyal. And you shouldn't try just to make a booking out of them. So I said, okay, I'm with you on this. So what advices do you have for Booking.com to be better at design? And they said the first thing was like hire a great talent. And yes, we are doing that. But let's focus. So hire great talent. Look at the best UX practices. Talk to users, do research, fix bugs, stuff like that. So I'm really glad you say this. And let me show you an example of a user test that I attended. This guy was planning to make a trip to Bucharest. So since he's from the Netherlands, prices of hotels are really affordable. So he went in and he got the 5-star hotels, and he got 13 results back after filtering. Now, which one of these hotels is closest to the city center? Well, he opened the map, and we see a bug. All of the hotels are actually visible here. And millions of our users see this, and it's totally not intentional. So what the maps team decided to do was fix it right away, but instead of giving out to all our users, they decided to do it through an A/B test. I'm curious to see, what do you think, if this is an overkill or not? Raise your hand if you think this is an overkill. Yeah, so let's see how it went. This was to be a slam dunk. It was so simple, right? Just hide the properties that don't match, and that's it. Happy users, bookings start pouring in. But instead, the users that got the fix actually converted less. And you know, sometimes user feedback can be ambiguous. Sometimes they say they need something, but actually need something else. But in this case, it's pretty straightforward. Show me the hotels that match. So what happened here? We have no idea. That is the truth, honestly. For the last 3 years, talented designers have worked on this thing, not exclusively, and they tried to solve it, and we haven't succeeded. Now, as Maria said before, most of our experiments actually fail. And our ideas come from user research, from talking to them, from looking at Google Analytics and our experiment tool. They come from best practices and what we see that other people do on other websites. But still, most of them fail. So that's why at Booking.com we value data versus opinions. Because data is the way that our users can talk to us. Data allows everyone to have a voice, no matter if you're from the States or from the Netherlands or from China. If you're a designer or developer, if you're young or old, everyone has an equal voice. So when they make a booking, we take that very seriously. Because what we are doing is not input shopping. It's not getting them to buy a bubble gum while they go to the cash register. This is not H&M where you buy a wedding dress just because it's on sale for $4.99. No, travel is a luxury. So if people want to give us their hard-earned money, we take that as a compliment. Now, we have 55 teams that work only on the front-end part of the website. They all act like small startups, and they focus on a very specific topic of type of user. Couples, families with children, groups, booking, business bookers, loyal bookers, people that speak English, Dutch, or any of the 42 languages that we support. People that want to make a booking tonight, or that want to make a booking for the summer. People that need inspiration to find a destination, or that people that just need to find their way from the airport to the hotel. So we offer travel guides, we offer different types of payments. And the feature that made me a loyal Booking.com customer from before working here, the reviews, the hotel reviews, which we know came from tourists that actually stayed there. Now, because of this, our website, our pages have thousands of variants. Some of the pages have even millions, especially on the funnel. There are just a few pages, and there are all these things that work in there, but they're very specialized. So this is way too big for someone to micromanage. It would just slow us down. The same is valid for a style guide. You know this guy from Office? So the same thing, this guy will slow us down. A comprehensive style guide that we have to learn and adhere to will slow us down. If we would have unit tests or if we would have code reviews, these things will slow us down. We know we are humans, we're not robots. So humans make mistakes. So we had the choice to police us around or to embrace it. And we decided to embrace this thing. So in order to make this happen, we set out a budget for bugs, outages, and failed experiments. And it's pretty straightforward. We have a budget for the year, and if we lose less money than this budget, then we're happy. It's radical pragmatism. And this is the reason why sometimes on our pages you see conflicting styles. Because we let our teams diverge and tackle every single bit of the pains that our users are facing. Now, to make sure that everyone can actually do that, we empower every single person that works on our website to make the best decisions for our company. We work in small teams that are allowed to focus on whatever they think is good to focus on. And they also have the power to choose their own metrics for success and for failure. Now, Divergence can only work if it's supported by the company culture. So we want to make sure that communication is happening because all the teams are diverging into different paths, right? So what we do is periodically, we all get together and share our learnings, our successes, and what we plan to do moving forward. Now, something beautiful happens when someone finds that golden nugget. All the other teams, not necessarily all of them, some teams that can help, will go behind that team, and they use their combined expertise to try to push that thing forward. And this happens from the moment for all the stages of the travel, from the moment where you're looking for inspiration to the point where they give us those authentic reviews. And it's the fact that we can diverge, but then all get together behind this, what allows us to give a great user experience to our users and to be the best hotel reservation website in the world. Now, I know this might sound really idyllic, and this is actually one of what the kids were saying to me, like, yeah, but okay, you're telling me this and it sounds really nice, but how does this look like in real life? Well, let me show you an example. Now, this is the hotel page, and obviously I had to put Trump there, right? Can I get away with it? So this is base. And then we tried, this is variant. I don't know if it was easy for you to spot the difference. I'll make it a bit easier. This is base, this is variant. Can you spot it?
Evolution.
You want to hear?
Color.
Huh?
The shade is color.
No. Try again.
There's another tab.
Yeah, there's another tab here. Congratulations, man. There's another tab. This was the difference. These are sort of the experiments that we do. Now, it was a bit unfair, I have to admit. Sorry for that. But look, so this is the search results page, right? You search for Las Vegas, and then you get a couple of hotels. So what we saw is that users, when they come to this page, they compare the hotels. So they go, they check Trump, and they see what the hotel is about. They go back to search results. They look at MGM Grand, and so on and so forth, right? So what we thought was, let's make life easier for these guys. Let's instead of loading the page every time they want to see one, let's open it in a new tab. That way they can see it, and if they like it, they can keep the tab open. If they don't like it, they close it, and search results is instantly available, and it's scrolled exactly to the pixel where they left off. This is the majority of our users, the way the majority of our users interacted with the page. There was also a smaller group that would already open in new tab by either using command click or right click, and it was kind of painful, so we decided to give it to everyone. So what happened was that the designer coded this in a dev environment, but because it was so different than everything at Booking, he decided to share it with fellow designers, seniors, and principals. Now they all had valid concerns, but all of them. And there were things like people don't know how to use tabs. Well, it would create all sorts of tabs. Like at the end, you will have 10, 20 tabs open if you click hotel, then back to search and all that stuff. Some browsers don't have tabs. This experiment ran 2 years ago, and back then IE6 had a really big share, like not big, but like bigger than the average of the industry. It was quite strong for us. So these were all valid concerns. Now, what would happen in a traditional company? One where the IT department maybe would look like this. And this guy here at the bottom wants to do an experiment. And his product manager has to approve it. I have a friend that's product manager, and she has to approve everything. It doesn't make sense to me. But like, the seniors would have to approve it, the principals. If we would have a style guide team, this is totally different. So maybe there's a big chance that someone would have said no at this point. What happens is what Maria said before. All our opinions are equal, no matter the title that you have in the company. So what everyone did, they challenged the designer to make sure that it's implemented correctly, but also that there are ways to measure how this will impact our business, and also how users are using it. So we ran the experiment, and it was a success. From the moment work started on this until it was live and ready to be tested by our users, it took 3 hours to code it, set up the experiment, and roll it out. Now, to fix padding on a page, and let's assume that we have only one search results version, it will take sort of similar, because this was mostly a target blank and then some JavaScript to track clicks, and that was it, right? The difference between these two experiments was that opening a tab was one of the most successful experiments for that team in that quarter, maybe even the whole year. Whereas fixing padding, and this is experiments that we also do, don't have any impact most of the time on anything that we can measure, and we measure a lot of stuff. But this experiment it was quite simple, and it was a big success, but it doesn't happen every single day. It happens often, but instead of trying to chase them, we do something at Booking that we like to call milking the cows. Now, the metaphor here is that if you're a farmer and you're raising cattle, you have to get up every morning and you have to milk them, and then do again the same time in the afternoon. You have to do it every day, no exceptions. It's hard work and it's not glamorous. But the thing is, if you don't do it, the cows will get ill and they will eventually die. And it's not like they're going to milk themselves. It doesn't happen in real life, trust me, it doesn't happen. So milking the cows is an inspiration for us. Every day come in, do user research, talk to users, come up with ideas, design, code, test, learn from it, and continue doing, persevere, exactly like with the experiment that Erin did. You don't have to give up. Now, let me show you another example where this whole approach really paid off. I was telling you at the beginning that in my second day I was helping a colleague write an experiment. It was on this blog. We have city landing pages. So if you are on Google and search for Bucharest, you will probably get to this place. And we have a blog here with some recommended properties. It's pretty straightforward. You click on one, you go to the hotel page, that's it. Now, my colleague said that he would like that when users click on this, they actually go to the search results page with this hotel pinned on top. And my reaction was, are you fucking kidding me? You want to add an extra step that they have to take in order to get to the checkout process? No, that's crazy. We cannot do that. But what I didn't know was that he spent the last couple of evenings watching tens of videos recordings of users interacting with our website. And he found there a pattern. Our users would start from here, they would click on that blog, and then they would go to a hotel page, but then soon after they would go to search results and compare that hotel with other hotels, and sometimes they wouldn't even book that first hotel. And it ties again to the fact that this is not impulse shopping. You're not going to book the first thing that you see, the first hotel. You want to have a good deal so that all your money, or like the majority of your money, is saved for when you're actually on vacation, right? So I ran the experiment, and obviously it was a success because the research was done perfectly. Now, this was a really valuable lesson for me because when I came here, I thought I had a good education. I just had a website that was viral, and this helped me get a job at Booking.com, which is like the mecca of designing with data, right? But all of this stuff means nothing if I'm going to be arrogant and think that I know better just because I'm the designer and that guy was not. Now, from this thing, I gave an advice to the kids who I was talking to, and I think it applies to in almost everything, especially in web design. And that is to stay humble. You are here to serve your users. They have all the answers, and the only way to get them is by talking to them. It could be to user testing, it could be to research, it could be to Google Analytics, all sorts of stuff. There are ways that you can interact with them. But always try to talk to them. The moment that you think you're above them, that's when you fail. And I know sometimes it could be really hard, like with the maps, right? 3 years, and we still haven't figured it out. And actually, there's another experiment that happens also on the map. You know those pins? If you hover over them, they move 1 pixel. We tried to fix that through an A/B test experiment. Every single time, conclusive negative. I have no idea what's happening there. No idea. But you see, sometimes it can be even really, really frustrating because you work your ass off for a design, and you test it, and they hate it. Or even worse, they don't care about it. So, but like, don't lose hope. Get up, dust yourself, learn from this thing, and stay humble. And always try to find a way to validate your designs in any way that you can. You know, sometimes we even go to Rembrandt time with an iPad and ask the people on the street, like, hey, can you tell me some ideas about this? It could be that simple. It doesn't have to be fancy like we have with user-tested research. But before I want to close, I want to give you one final story. At my first job, one guy contacted customer support because he didn't know how to log out. So the customer support tells him, well, there's a logout button in the top right corner. You know what the guy did? He sent us a picture of his keyboard, asking, where the fuck is my button? And every single time we would be frustrated with our users, we would talk about this. And we would be like, yeah, but they're stupid, they don't know. But you know what we never did? We never did anything about that tiny button there that was really hard to see. Because back then we were arrogant. Stay humble. Thank you very much.